All right. Welcome to the Side Action, episode 4, season 7. My name is Jim Weglars, aka Wegs. You can follow me on X at Wegspool and also on Instagram.
And I'm Coop. You can check me out on Instagram at Dalton Cooper, on Twitter or X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. Again, we are the Side Action Podcast coming to you live from an undisclosed location at approximately 5:05 in the morning, baby. Let's get it going.
To be clear, it's what, 11:05 for you on the East Coast? You're in
Yeah.
Ohio or something?
Yeah, I'm in Ohio. The funny thing is my computer is still set to Central Time. So I almost like, oh, no, it's only 10 o'clock. And then I look at my phone and it says 11 o'clock. So that's a good time.
Yeah, you got to reset that. So what can be said? This is a new future. I probably won't do this too often. Hopefully at 5 in the morning, I'm a little sleepy, but we got to make it happen. And thanks for accommodating your schedule and all that. So we had a big weekend last weekend in Vegas. Obviously, had a great time. At least I had a good time with the fellas. A bad time at the tables, but it was one of those things that. And we play craps a lot. It's all about bankroll management. We've discussed this many times. And my bankroll was not big enough half the time. And because you have to be at the table when the good roll happens. And this happened numerous times where, especially the one night at Venetian, where it's like the minute I got off the table, I was broke. No more money. $800. Gone. Walk away from the table. Next shooter goes on the heater. Prime went from down 800, 900 to back to even to win $800 on one guy. I'm like, God damn it, And then there was the same. I think it was the same night, New York, New York. He rolls almost all the numbers on a different table because I couldn't afford to be on the $25 table, the $15 table. I'm getting waxed. And then there was
that one girl, the one lady to your right, who got hot. She looked like a new shooter. She looked like she'd never really thrown. That's that shooter's luck,
Yeah, beginner's luck. She won a couple, and then didn't matter because it sucked.
Yeah.
And then that one night we had green shirt guy. Like we were getting kind of crushed at Park. Were you there when that happened? And then the green guy, he was just chucking it, and he actually got us back, but we gave it back. I think Prime lost a lot that night. I lost a lot too. So, and then, but finally, you went to bed Sunday. You have to stick around once in a while. Jimmy Wegs finally got the bones, and we actually got lead to throw. Lieutenant Cavs got his first. He was playing bubble craps. I mean, what was funny is we had the craps guys that were like Edmund, Art, and I were losing money. Art was kind of being okay, and then at the bubble craps table, Dave was like killing it one night. And Lee was a kingpin. He won like $400 or something on $100 buy-in. He won $500. And then Scotty Green the next night tried it. So then we finally got Lee on the table at Flamingo, and he starts rolling, and he did okay. He was like 7, 12, 7, 12. Got that money taken away. Got an 11, got another week, and then he crapped out, and I got the table. We had our own table by ourselves, and I start rolling and just crushed it. 40 minutes or so, the table filled up. I ended up getting 5 points and just was killing the 5 and 9, dude. I got the 5 and 9 to $150 bets.
Oh, wow.
Paid, and so that one, and then Art did okay on his, and then I walked away like triple. So it was like I lost plenty of money on the weekend even after that, but at least I got back some of the money. But yeah, man, what was your impressions? Did you have a good time?
Oh yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Man, that heat is no joke though. That's man, that will definitely cook your ass if you're not ready. So no, I always enjoy going to Vegas. Just the people watching aspect is always a good time, and just the fellas, So it would have been a lot more fun if Oklahoma State would have covered and came back. That would have been a lot more fun. That was crushing. And then right after that, Iowa just shit the bed.
Iowa.
Yeah, Saturday was tough because we had so much optimism. And, when you make parlays, and you just follow the wrong ones and other people follow the right ones you make. And, that's just like, that's gambling.
Oklahoma State, was that the one you had to win from 1 to 6, but they won by 8?
Yeah.
So they
They had
covered.
2 different chances.
They didn't get your number, which is crazy.
They had 2 different chances to win by 3, and they couldn't do it.
And there were some other highlights, obviously, won't go into great detail here, but the my night one female friend that offered to we'll just say get me wet for some dollars. So I passed, and then we hit the pool. We hit the pool on Tuesday or Friday. With that was pretty fun, and then obviously stadium swim was always a good time, even though we were sweating our noogies off out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's always a great time.
Yeah, so obviously I'm in Hawaii now. Came out here Monday, and now it's kind of like adjusting to time zones and stuff like that. It's been just get right to work. Like, okay, let's go. Enough Vegas time. Here we go. I mean, today I'm gonna play some volleyball after work, which is nice. And a couple of the guys I know, one of the guys who lives here, and this other guy you probably know him, Paul. He's got the famous tattoo on his lower abdomen. He's got the elephant tattoo in his stomach, and everybody wants to know how far it goes down.
Nice.
He's here for a while. He's going to contemplate moving here next spring or something. So we hung out on both last night and Tuesday night. So that's kind of nice to have some social stuff. We're going to go to the North Shore this weekend and play some volleyball and everything. So back in whole Hawaii life. Nobody cares about football here, by the way.
That's tough. Well, yeah, because it happens at 6 a.m. there.
Well, it's 7 on Sundays, and literally I got out of work yesterday at 5 normal time here. Game's over. I mean, we can talk about that in a minute, but game was over. The Thursday night and Monday night footballs are going to be might as well didn't happen for me, but I'll work it out. So, what about you? The rest of the week, you obviously are in Ohio for a wedding, right?
Oh yeah, we're doing the wedding today, and then not much. Just traveling back to Ohio. I'll probably go to my youngest brother is playing football tomorrow, so I'll probably go watch him play, and then head back to Chicago for Sunday. So. Yeah, pretty boring week and just doing school. Oh yeah.
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do, dude. You're doing your thing. Yeah. Okay, well, let's jump into our normal segments here. We've got the shed, which some may take me to the shed the way I rolled the dice until last night. But who are we taking to the shed after last weekend?
Oh man, after this past weekend, well, the first one I want to take to the shed were quarterbacks coming off of injuries, and none of them really looked good. That's Cousins, Rodgers, Burrow, and Deshaun Watson. Okay. Obviously, Anthony Richardson was maybe the only bright spot you could argue, but he only completed 9 passes, even though 2 of them went for 150 yards. So, it was the fewest passing touchdowns in the league since 2006. And another fun stat. So, of those 10 starting quarterbacks that didn't play in the preseason, 6 out of the 10 lost, and actually out of the other 2, they played each other. So you were going to get a win or a loss regardless. So there's really only 2 games where you had a quarterback that sat in the preseason versus a quarterback that actually saw game time in preseason. And only 2 of those victories happened. So 2 out of the 10 were victorious. So next year, week 1, we got to remember this. So week 1, we're going to start betting on those quarterbacks actually played more in the preseason. So that's it was just an interesting stat. I think there was only 2 guys that threw for over 300 yards in week 1, and that was Tua and Matt Stafford. So yeah, not a good look. And then just the Panthers and all the people that bet on them, including myself. So I will never bet on Bryce Young. I already told Mark this morning I'm never betting on Bryce Young ever again. And if I do, then you have permission to just throw me in the traffic. So
yeah, well, we want them to be better. I mean, I didn't end up betting on we discussed this, of course. I didn't end up betting on Daniel Jones, but we talked about, that's not, come on, it's going to be a close game. They got waxed too. So sometimes they are who we thought they were, so.
Oh yeah.
Mine are, and I know this is, my Bears fans will be mad, but is Will Levis. I mean, this guy, of course, I've not promoted him. I'm like, he could be good. He's got these good receivers and whatever. They get out to the 17-3 lead against the Bears. Not doing too much. Don't do too much, Will. Run a little bit, throw a little bit. But late in that game, I think he had a fumble and then that terrible interception where he's falling down and trying to flip it to the sidelines and just right to the Bears guy, pick 6. That was both a contest pick and I don't think I bet that, but I think I had in the parlay. So I would have won the parlay without that goddamn Will Levis. So, and then you already touched on, I guess, Deshaun Watson. He looked done. I don't know if he can. I don't know. Maybe he's just fat and happy now. Like he just doesn't need to play well, but he's going to get benched soon if you don't play better. You know what I mean? Because that defense is good, and what are you going to do?
He doesn't even look like he wants to be on the field. He doesn't talk to any of his teammates, doesn't talk to any of his coaches. Like he just looks like he'd rather be anywhere else but on that field. It's crazy. It's crazy that if you would have just seen Deshaun Watson 5 years ago, no one would believe you how good he was.
Yeah, I know. So what are you going to say? And then the last one I put on here is Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually watched this game much. I don't know where
I did.
Did we watch it? Maybe I was.
No, I did. You were out at lunch. You were having lunch.
That's right.
Yeah. But no, I sat and watched this game. It was abysmal.
Yeah, and so they lose 16-14 at home. 2 touchdown favorites. I mean, obviously Northern drove for like a game-winning field goal. I had lots of friends and cousins there. Like there's tons of video footage of them going nuts there. So Notre Dame, God, that's just an abysmal loss. And I mean, good for the MAC and good for the Huskies. But man, welcome Notre Dame Golden Domers. Keep your Golden Domers on. Keep the helmets on. Get on in here, and there'll be plenty of room in the. I should say my guy. Here was one. I should. I on Monday. You get, when you try coming to Hawaii, it's like you lose. Francisco about a lot of time. I did listen to people talk about Christian McCaffrey. And I was on the flight, so of course I imagine Jason is in Club Dog. You heard you were going to play Friday. Apparently nobody knew that except for like 90 minutes before game time. So, I got screwed. But Jordan Mason destroyed 150 plus yards rushing. He looked great against the Jets. People were comparing to Marion Barber. He's got the dreads and stuff. He played really good. So obviously, hopefully you have him in your fantasy league and started him, or you went and got him on the waiver wire.
No, he definitely had a good showing. Yeah, I saw a stat the other day. It was like 14 undrafted running backs have led the NFL, or I think had led the league in rushing at one point in time since like 2010 or something. Like it was just some crazy stat like that.
Wow. And then I gave the other club dub. I know he's a listener, and we're not doing the live stream. We should, is our Primetime Murphy. I mean, what I liked about Prime this weekend, and he was Primetime, he just kept at it, man. He was playing. He was out pretty late. Usually that's not art. So when we were out, like, well, let's go to this club or whatever. And, Scotty and Lee and I went to a club. We called it quits kind of early at 1:30 or something. And I get this message at 3 a.m. Hey, you guys still out? I just left the tables after 3 hours. New York, killing it. I'm like, great, Prime. I wish I was there again. But Primetime actually left winning. My last roll got him over the top. I mean, obviously Dave won some money too, but yeah, man, our Primetime Murphy, you're in Club Dub. Come on in, have at it. You're probably the king of Club Dub at this point.
Oh yeah, no, he's going to fit right in. I have no doubt in that whatsoever. Definitely where he belongs. But I had 2 in Club Dub. I know we're sharing the wealth here, but the first one I know you're really going to enjoy. I'm going to put Sam Darnold in Club Dub. So yeah. He was 19 of 24. He had 208 yards and he had 2 touchdowns against the Giants. They had a 28-6 victory, but he looked good. Out of all the quarterbacks, all the abysmal performances we saw, he was one of the bright spots, I thought. So at one point, I know he was 13 of 14, and I think the one incompletion he had was a drop. So, he definitely came out ready to play. Kevin O'Connell and the boys looked pretty good on offense. So, and then I also had Saquon Barkley. So Saquon had 3 touchdowns in his Eagles debut. He's the second Eagle in history to have 3 touchdown scores in the debut. Can you name the other person that's done it?
Sean McCoy?
No, Terrell Owens. Owens was
okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty good company. Yeah, if he's if he's gonna ball out like that, the Eagles are definitely gonna get their money's worth. So
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good. That was a fun game to watch, despite the injury that everybody was giving me shit about. We'll talk about it.
They got some good content out of that game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's go to the college picks. We started obviously in week 2, whatever, recap for college. We watched a lot of these games, and then obviously I missed some of them. This was a no contest. You mentioned this last week. The Horns just destroyed Wolverines. It was never a game. Final 31-12. I think it was should have been like 50-7, but yeah, they did anything they wanted, and which was interesting, both offensively and defensively. I think the real showing to me is the Wolverines' offense is not good. The defense at some point is going to give up. They did okay early, but Texas is really good. So I do think we talked about after this game, man, hard not to put some money on Texas. They look really good. I know Georgia will probably be in the mix there, but you might as well get to the title game with this team as they've got it all.
Yeah, no, their offensive line play is really good, and they handled Michigan really well, and they had a really good offensive scheme. If the more you watch that game, you can pay attention to when the 2 defensive tackles for Michigan, they have Mason Graham, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they're both probably NFL, picks. When they were off the field, they would run right in that it was A and B gaps. But when they're on the field, they would spread the ball more to the perimeter, and you could just definitely tell that they had a good game plan set up for that, and yeah, they hammered it. I'm kind of sad we didn't tease it up to like 17 when we were teasing it up on Saturday. But hey, we'll take the win.
Half wasn't enough. That was done early, so
yeah. It's always good. That's a good feeling when it's done early,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're on the right side, yes. The Hawkeyes, you mentioned this already. This was when I was at lunch, and I came back, and it was like I had parlayed this. I had Hawkeyes 2.5 favorites, and then the over at 36. And typical Iowa, they can't score, but they were up 19-7 in this game in the third quarter. And then when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to win whatever it was. It was 19-17, 36. They're win by 2, and they're not going to hit the over. And then, of course, they end up losing outright 20-19 with the field goal. And I'm sitting here, yeah, it went over, but the goddamn Hawkeyes. So you watched the game. What happened in this one?
Cade McNamara is really bad. There's a lot of, and they were running the football really well. I mean, that was basically Iowa's offense, was running the football, and Cade McNamara would get into the red zone. He looked like Brett Favre. Like he would have a guy open like 4 yards away from him, but he'd throw him a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. And it's like, well, what are you doing? So yeah, I would say hesitant play calling as well. They're playing not to lose instead of just playing to win, probably like they were in the second quarter when they were having all their success. So yeah, they had a lot of success running off their right guard and tackle. I mean, that was about the only offense that Iowa had, was running off that right side. So
right.
Yeah, no, that was tough. And especially, like I said, when it happened back to back, those 2 games, I was done after Saturday. After those 2 gut punches, I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. This is no fun anymore.
It's too bad we weren't on Illinois. I was on the total 57.5. It was way under this game. They didn't score for the first 10 minutes or 14 minutes a game. And then Illinois, ended up beating Kansas, outright 23-17. And, obviously only hit 40 points in the total. But there were a lot of people excited. Art's buddies were from, Illinois people, so they were excited for the win. But I was, we were not excited for the under.
No, we should have known better. We should have known if we were going to be with Champaign people. We should have bet on Illinois and the under. We should have tailed it. The universe gives us signs. We just got to see them.
The one sign that I don't know why I was so geeked up about the Wolf Pack, but I don't know what to read about this. The Wolf Pack, of course, we call our little group of Wolf Pack sometimes NC State, but the Vols were good. We talked about Nico, meaning the Heisman guy. His odds were 15-1 preseason. Now they're 9-1. So he didn't throw that many yards, but he didn't need to. But he also ran the ball 65 yards, and he had 3 total touchdowns. The Vols offense is legit. We know that. NC State, after like the first drive stalled and they kind of got a field goal or something, and then Tennessee scored for like the 3rd time in a row. I'm like, oh, these guys just don't have any offense, NC State, comparatively. And so the Vols can score. We don't know. Maybe NC State's just crummy, but I like Nico's chances here. I know there's a lot of Heisman hopefuls.
No, that was actually one of the other ones I got right. Whereas I just thought Tennessee would score way too many points, and they did. And I thought NC State would score more, to be honest. But hey,
yeah, of course,
we'll take it.
I mean, the balls almost hit the over by themselves. I think it was 65 or something. But,
Yeah.
and then the last one we kind of were on, we knew this, the Huskers, Nebraska over the Buffs. I mean, they were good. We watched this game. It was fun to watch. They pummeled them 28-10. It was never really close. And Nebraska's, you like Matt Rule, as you mentioned in the preseason. They were 25-1, or they're still 25-1 to win the Big Ten, and they're 40-1 to start the season. So, I mean, I'll figure out. There's not legal gambling in Hawaii, but I'll figure out a way to get some money down on them, because I just figure they can get to the title game. They might lose. Jimmy Hedgerton Jr. can win some money.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that play, honestly. I think that's probably a good idea, especially get it on it now before, because they realistically they could be 7-0 going into like late October and early November when all their big, and then they're playing basically playoff games from that point forward. So yeah, they should get better as the season goes on. So we'll definitely see.
Yeah, and it's just both sides of the ball, not just one side. So
And the atmosphere they have at home is crazy.
oh,
Like, it's good to see Nebraska rocking again. So
yeah, I know, back from the 80s and 90s. So
well, they had to get excited about volleyball. So now they get to translate both. Now they get volleyball and football. So Nebraska's all the way back.
they are. So week 3, I just highlighted some big games. You've got some other picks here, but you've got Arizona, the 20th ranked team, against the 14th team at Kansas State. This is actually tonight at 7 p.m. Central. It looks like Kansas State is a 7-point favorite at home, and the total is pretty high, 59.5. We talked about both these teams in the preseason. Where are you leaning in this one?
For Friday night games, I usually lean home team. It's kind of like Thursday night games in the NFL. I think it's just like, I don't know, just a distraction thing of traveling with teenagers and young 20-year-olds. I feel like can be a pain, especially when you get them off schedule. But
Yep.
if anything, I would take the over, just because your boy at wide receiver, I cannot remember his name.
Yeah,
It's also incredibly hard to pronounce.
it is.
I can see a lot of points here on a Friday night Pac-12, but I think Kansas would probably, or I guess excuse me, Big 12, not Pac-12. But no, I definitely would take the points here. I think 7's a good number. I would stay away from it. I think it's like right on par. So I would leave it alone. But do you see Georgia Southern won 83-10 last night? Did you happen to see that game?
No, I did not. That's some points.
Yeah. Should have put them in the shed.
Who did they play? Do you know?
It was somebody. Keep going.
Okay. So then I highlighted this because we were obviously out in Vegas, and there were some people with UNLV outfits, on Saturday. So UNLV is going to Kansas. We know Kansas obviously had a letdown spot, and they lost to Illinois this last weekend. They play Friday night too. And by the way, it's Friday the 13th. Just throwing that out there. At 6 p.m. Central. Kansas is a 7.5-point favorite at home, 58.5-point total. I kind of feel like the Rebs could be, frisky in this one. I don't know that they're going to win this game, but I mean, we know that they beat some crappy. They beat, what was it, like Utah Tech or something last week? But I think they're a little better than they've been in the past. They've been a doormat for many years, but Kansas obviously has to bounce back. They got to win, but I don't know. I like that number for UNLV.
I think this is a bounce back spot for Kansas, but I'm big on Kansas. I think UNLV has trouble stopping the run outside of Utah Tech. So also Georgia Southern beat Northwestern State last night, 87-10. So but yeah, no, I would get on Kansas just because I'm kind of a homer of them from the beginning. So I think it's a little early to bail on the bandwagon. So I think they have the talent. They just, either Illinois is either that good or it's just early in the season and you see these up and downs. So we'll see what happens. I don't like that game though. I would stay away from it.
Gotcha. The Saturday games I put on the slate were Boston College. They're 24th ranked at Missouri, 6th ranked. We talked about Missouri before. This is Saturday at 11:45 Central Time. Missouri's a healthy 16-point favorite at home, 54-point total. I don't see this in your break. Yeah, I see it in your breakdown. So you do have a lean here.
Oh yeah, I love Missouri here. I think Boston College is inflated from beating Florida State just the same way that Georgia Tech was when they played Syracuse last week. So, and I think Missouri's pitched 2 straight shutouts to start the season. I think they won 31-0 and then 41-0. So their defense is playing really well right now. I just think they have a lot of momentum, and I think that just is going to carry really well, especially for an early start game like that. This Saturday afternoon, Missouri, I think it's going to be rocking. I don't think Boston College is going to be ready. So I think this is a big number. I don't think this number is big enough. I would go to 21, I think.
Okay, good. Then this is I can't remember what this was called.
The Civil War.
State. Is that what it's called? Civil War?
Yeah.
Oregon, we talked about them before. They've had some struggles early. Now they go at Oregon State in Corvallis. That's 2:30 p.m. Central. They're 16-point favorites on the road at Oregon State, 50-point total. This isn't in your picks this week, but do you think Oregon can finally play better? They've had 2 struggles in 2 weeks. I mean, Boise had them almost beat last week. So you think this is the week they get right?
I don't know about the point total, but I think this team is progressively going to get better. I think this is like one of those slow building teams. If that they have a lot of things to work on, but we all know that the skill set is there, if that makes sense. So I don't like the number, to be honest, just because it's a rivalry game. I mean, Oregon State did lose basically their whole offense last year. Lost a running back in the transfer portal, and I think a couple wide receivers as well. So I guess if this isn't the get right game for Oregon, when will be the get right game? I guess would be my question. So I don't know if I like the point total. If anything, I think I would just take the over, because if this is the get right game for Oregon, they can hit that total by themselves. So if anything, you stay away from the number and you just hedge the over, I would say.
Okay, well, let's go with your picks this week. You did go 3-1, so I know we had some other things that didn't work out so good last week.
Iowa.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The plus 12-17. I don't know. Is that the money you've made so far? Is that what
no? That's the odds for this parlay I'm going to give you this week.
Oh, I got you.
I got Coop's picks of the week for the college edition here. Like I said before, the parlay is plus 12-17 if you want to put this together on DraftKings. I had the Cincinnati Bearcats minus 3.5 against Miami of Ohio. Cincinnati was dominating Pitt most of the game last week, and then they blew it in the fourth quarter. I think they gave up like an 18-point lead. So they looked good basically most of that game, and then they ended up giving up a late field goal, I think, with like 30 seconds to go to lose. So I think they have a bounce back game. Obviously, I don't know if it's just a lapse in concentration or what it is, but I think I always like the teams to have bounce back weeks.
Sure.
And obviously, I mentioned Missouri minus 16 versus Boston College. I also have Virginia Tech at minus 14.5 against Old Dominion. Virginia Tech was supposed to be a sleeper ACC pick. They kind of blew it the first week against Vanderbilt. They had a nice bounce back week last week, but I think this team does have a lot of talent. It's ODU. I just don't think it's a good physical matchup for them. So I think, again, this is one of those teams where they're going to put it together here, hopefully end of September, rolling into October. And I'm trying to buy them low, if anything. I think Virginia Tech's still a little undervalued right now just from that first game. And then I'm going to go with Utah State. I'm riding with Utah State against Utah. Cam Rising hurt his hand last week. In let's take a second quarter. I can't remember who they played. Baylor. They played Baylor. And after they were up, I think 22-0 at halftime, they only ended up winning like 22-13. So they didn't score a single point once he left. So even if he does play, I feel like a hand injury, he's a mobile quarterback, so he will run. I just feel like, it will affect him mentally. Even if he does play, he's not going to be 100%. So if you're going to give me 3 touchdowns against a team that struggles to score when he's not in there healthy, I think it's a good number to take for sure.
Sure. Look at you taking a dog. I like it. The dogs are barking. So,
yeah.
So Bearcats 3.5, Missouri minus 16, Virginia Tech's minus 14.5, and Utah State plus 20 for that parlay of plus 12-17.
Yep. So a little 100 spot when you're 1,200.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go over the recap of week 1 in the NFL now. We'll go over this quickly, and there were some injuries, and I'm getting my dad, Mr. He's always texting me, although it is early for me anyway. But let's go over the games that I was highlighting, some of our picks in the official contest and some ones we talked about. I know I'm not going to beat you up on it. You would have picked them in Survivor with Falcons. But actually, you weren't the only one. There were a bunch of people in the contest to pick the Falcons. It was like 4% of the contest. And, the Justin Fields era has begun with the Steelers. You see, I don't understand it. Russell Wilson has pads on. He's not wearing a helmet, but he's not playing. Screw him.
He was
Let
the
him
emergency backup quarterback. There was a report that said he was going to be like, just in case the other two guys got hurt, he was going to be,
he was able to
go
pull off. But anyway, the Steelers were 3.5-point dogs on the road, and this is a classic Mike Tomlin thing. They just win. They win these stupid games. They didn't score a touchdown. They win 18-10. It was an ugly game. Justin Fields threw outside the numbers to avoid the safeties. He ran for a bunch. He played good enough to win. Didn't turn the ball over. I think that's the most important thing that he did. So you've got some stats in this one. You want to share them?
Yeah. Yeah, and also I forgot I didn't put this one in the outline, but you were talking about Justin Fields. It was, I think, only 6% of his throws were in the intermediate range, which is like 8 to 15 yards. So like 40% of his throws were over 20 yards to George Pickens, and like the rest of them were at like obviously the line of scrimmage or within 5 yards of it. So again, it's the same old Steelers, just no intermediate passing game whatsoever. But yeah, the Falcons' undoing here, their offense was really bad. There's a couple different reasons why that is. So their average of third down and to go was 9.9. So their first and second down offense was atrocious. They could not move the ball whatsoever. So Kirk Cousins actually faced the Steelers blitz Kirk Cousins only 11% of the time during the game too, which was the third lowest pressure rate. But he also had the seventh best amount of time to throw, which doesn't really make, but it was inaccurate. I guess he didn't move a lot in the pocket was the big problem too. So 96% of the time he spent in shotgun or pistol. So he was very, I guess stagnant. And also they only run the ball out of shotgun only like 26% of the time. So it's very obvious what they're going to do from a play calling standpoint.
It's very obvious.
So, and the biggest thing I think too with Kirk Cousins is the play action. If he's not under center, we can't do any play action, or at least it's not as effective. So over his career, at least the last 4 years, without play action on his attempts, he only averages 5.5 yards per attempt. With play action pass, he's at 9.9. So it's a big mean that we like to see, or a big variance, if you will.
Yeah, and I think we thought, and maybe not we people, the consensus thought that hey, Cousins is going to go down there. He's got all these weapons and whatever. But if you're too predictable and you're against a good defense, you're gonna have to mix it up. But I think play action, you need to be mobile. And maybe they kind of are easing him in because of that Achilles thing. So
yeah, he definitely doesn't. He doesn't want to plan on it. He definitely looks uncomfortable. Because I went back and we had on the circ obviously, but we really couldn't watch the big box, or at least I couldn't see like how he looked physically. So I went back and watched a little bit. You could definitely tell he's not pushing off of that right leg. And he also only moved on average, I think it was like 3 yards per drop back in the pocket, which is like the lowest of his career by far, by like 25%. So he's definitely not feeling right now. So that may have been the biggest reason why they didn't play Michael Penix, is just because they know that if Kurt isn't right, if they start 0-3, do you go to Penix just because homeboy's not healthy? Like,
I think they have to, but we'll see. I mean, my whole thing is if he wasn't healthy, Penix getting the start against the Steelers.
Yeah, why wouldn't you have started Penix to begin with? Yeah,
right. But I mean, I think they're going to go to him if he's going to still be this stiff guy. But even Rodgers was stiff too. I mean, this is the thing; these guys they're not young. It's not like a bounce back 26 with an Achilles tear. So in the second game, we already mentioned Will Levis giving this game up, but the Titans were 3.5-point dogs, and this looked like an easy cover the entire time until Will just gave it up. But my bottom line is, and I'm not trying to be, my Bears fans listen to this, they're going to hate me, but like Caleb didn't look good. And I understand that he's got time to figure it out. He will figure it out, hopefully. But he wasn't very accurate. He was making some bad decisions, and you can't throw off your back foot in the NFL. You can't be shuffling around and making plays. I mean, I just think that they got to keep it simple for him to start until he can feel the point where he can make those plays that are kind of happening. They had a lot of third downs that he couldn't convert, and we'll see what happens. But you've got some stats for this one too.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Caleb too is he only had like 2.6 seconds time to throw the ball on average, which was like the 6th worst in the league week 1. So the offensive line didn't do him any favors either. But Tennessee also outgained the Bears by 96 yards. So they only had 148 yards of total offense. I was trying to go back and look through the stats to see like the lowest yard totals for a victory in NFL history. And I think the Chargers had won a game back in 04 when they only had like 44 yards of total offense or something like that. So
that's a low.
I thought 140 was something low. I had never even imagined only getting 40 yards and winning. So, and then also entering that game at halftime, obviously the Titans were up 14, but teams were 2 and 306 when trailing by 2 scores at halftime, and then didn't score an offensive touchdown all game. So definitely an anomaly. If anything, Caleb Williams is already better than Justin Fields because he motivates the rest of the team to play better with his play. So that's my spin zone for that game. That's kind of my, my silver lining, if you will. That's what I'm going to tell myself. And hopefully we've seen the floor. So let's see what the ceiling looks like.
Yeah. They got a tough one this week. Talk about that. So then Patriots, this was the big Survivor knockout and we avoided it in the contest, thankfully. Bengals, I think they closed at 7.5-point favorites, but a lot of places was 8.5 most of the week, where the Patriots, were dogs. And bottom line is Zach Taylor can't coach in the first 2 weeks of the NFL, apparently, or he doesn't believe in winning. Joe Burrow is now 1-4 in the first 2 games of the year in his career, and I think Zach Taylor is now 1-10 in weeks 1 through 2. So something's going on. They're not prepared, and the Patriots just ran the ball down their throat. They're just like, we're going to keep running the football. We're going to win 16-10. We don't care what the score is. And good for Gerard Mayo and the crew. They just played well. Burrow didn't look good. His wrist wasn't great. He wasn't throwing the ball deep much. So we'll see if that gets better over time. Obviously, that hurts my AFC pick. But what's going on with the Bengals? Why can't they play in the first 2 weeks?
I don't know what it is. In 4 out of the 5 years Joe Burrow has been the starter, they've started 0-2. So we'll definitely see what happens. It's definitely not going to be unfamiliar territory for them. But yeah, I feel like a lot of Patriots games this year are going to look like this. They're going to be rock fights. It's going to be, yeah. So, the Bengals did have basically 2 fumbles in the end zone. I guess Mike Gesicki had like the incompletion, and then Drew Sample fumbled the ball literally going into the end zone. So I guess that's obviously, kind of little bad end zone luck there. But yeah, it's definitely tough, especially when they wear all orange and they play that badly, because those uniforms are so sweet, and just the jungle being all orange was nice. So, but yeah, it's good for, Ramondre Stevenson had a big game. I think he had like 25 carries for $120. So yeah, Jacoby's hopefully not going to turn it over. And looking back on it, we definitely should have taken the win total for the over for this team, because I feel like 4.5 is definitely not anything that's crazy.
Yeah, they'll just beat people up if they keep it in a game where it's close, and especially if the weather gets bad. They know what they're going to do. So give them some credit. I didn't bet on this one. The Cardinals and Bills. Well, actually, I did bet on this one. Cardinals and Bills.
Oh yeah.
Cards were 6.5-point dogs on the road, and they came out of the gates great, kind of like we expected. But they did give it up in the second half. It was just a tidal wave of Bills, but they still didn't cover the number, because the Cards had a chance to win this game outright and knock out another 16% of the pool. They did win the game 34-28, but that's a cover, sir. So we were happy to get on the right side.
Oh yeah, like I said, the rushing attack that we were talking about, I think, kind of previewing that game, definitely had its way. Kyler Murray looked pretty good. Marvin Harrison Jr. might be on a milk carton. We're going to see, because if you took him in fantasy this year, you probably got him at the 1-2 turn, if not like maybe middle of second round. You definitely not have good feelings after this game going into the next one.
Well, I heard, and we didn't get to see these. We're thinking about Stadium Swim, everything's going on. We're looking at the bottle girls and whatever. But apparently on that final drive, when they could have beat him, Marvin Harrison,
he was wide open,
field, and they missed him. So
yeah. Well, and after the game, Kyler Murray said it wasn't his job to get Marvin Harrison the ball. So, which is just, I don't understand. If it's not his job, then whose job is it? Like, it kind of is his job to get him the ball. So, yeah, maybe they don't have a good relationship right now. I don't know. It's tough to say. We're not obviously in the room. So interesting.
So this was kind of a fun game that was on the main screen. This was Colts against the Texans. Colts end up. This is so important about getting the right number. I got 2.5, and we got 2.5 in the contest. But I think sometimes it went down to 2 or 1.5. Depends on where you got it during the week. So the Texans, when I watched this game, what can I say about this? The Texans dominated the time of possession. They had the ball over 40 minutes of this game, and they moved the ball at will. Joe Mixon was a man, 150 yards plus rushing. He got obviously some scores. He looked really good. Stroud looked good. But the Colts actually surprised me how that deep threat you're talking about, Anthony Richardson not having a lot of pass attempts, but he had deep bombs that he kept hitting. He hit Pierce once, he hit the other young guy, and they had those big touchdowns. So yeah, he had 3 catches for like 135 yards or something, Pierce. So they hung in there and they did get within the number, but they just couldn't stop the Texans offense. And it's like pick your poison. You want to stop Stroud and the receivers, or you wanted to stop the run, and they just couldn't do it. So final score 29-27 was a fun game to watch, but the Texans coming away from it, even though we won the pick and the bet, I just felt like Houston was definitely the better team there.
Yeah, Joe Mixon didn't wear gloves. That's like the only thing I'll add to that. So you got to be a psychopath not to just go bare hands. So yeah, I think he's sending a message. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last, or a couple more, we've got the Seattle versus the Broncos. This was our survivor pick. They didn't end up covering. It was a push in the game. They did win 26-20. It looked like it was a no sweater, except that, the Seattle had a chance late to push. Bo Nix didn't look great as we expected, but he did throw underneath, as you're going to say here.
Yeah, no, so I think he had over 43 attempts in this game, and out of those 43 attempts, only 12 of them traveled more than 10 yards. So he averaged 3.3 yards per attempt this game. So
that's not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, that's a tough look. It's kind of like the Steelers' offense minus the deep throwing, essentially. So I don't know if they're protecting Bo Mix because they don't trust the offensive line, or if they just thought that was the way that they were going to beat Seattle, or what. But the fun thing about this game was Denver had like 2 safeties in the first quarter, I think.
I know.
So, do you know what the NFL record for safeties in a game is?
3?
It is 3. So I was hoping we'd maybe get a little bit of history. So because I think they had a chance like in the third quarter to get another one. They had them backed up. And obviously
They did. You're
Yeah.
right.
So,
that was a bit of a sweat. I was like, are you gonna have another safety? Give me a break here.
Yeah.
Weird score.
So
yeah, and then the night games, the Lions were 3.5-point favorites at home against the Rams. It's funny, like we did pick this in the contest for the Lions, but they really were they the right side? Because they were up 17-3, but then they blew it all the way back. Stafford was chucking it, as you mentioned, over 300 yards. They ended up winning. They were leading 20-17, but couldn't keep Detroit out of the for the field goal to force overtime, and then it was David Montgomery time. It was kind of like Mixon, and these teams are tired. You get that big running back and good line. They just ran it down their throat and scored the touchdown, and not playoff rules. They don't get the ball on the other side, so they lost the game 26-20, and the Lions covered. What do you know? After all.
now I think whoever got the ball first in overtime was going to win. That's kind of how it felt because the Rams were humming. They had made a couple adjustments. Cooper Kupp was killing them. So I just think whoever got the ball first was going to win that game.
Yeah, and Puka got a little banged up in that one, so you got to check that out. Then the last one is the Jets 4.5 at San Francisco. Jets D is a fraud. That's all I'm going to say. They're a fraud. I know that they were top 5, and it was funny. Somebody drafted them really early in one of my drafts, and I was like, the Jets? And I knew that they have talent, but I think Robert Saleh is just too vanilla on defense. San Francisco carved them up. I mean, they won 32-19, wasn't really that close. And the bottom line is they can't stop the outside zone read, and Mason dominated them. But it's just zero adjustments from Saleh and the D. It's really kind of funny. And then obviously, let's just put it out there. Offensive coordinator sucks for the Jets. I don't know when he's not going to get fired. Hackett's horrible. They looked decent on the first drive, and then whatever. But Breece Hall, I mean, he had a decent outing, but besides that, I don't think the team played very well.
No, they had a couple of early turnovers too, if I remember correctly as well. But the defense of the Jets, they were always talking about being the number 1 pass defense, but it always felt like their number 1 pass defense because the teams were blowing them out so much they didn't have to worry about throwing the ball against them. So that stat was a little inflated. And so they still need Hassan Reddick. He's the only holdout left, and it looks like they need somebody else to help rush the passer. So it's going to be an interesting moving forward because I think they play Tennessee this week too. So I don't know. It could be frisky. We'll see.
Could be. Okay, let's go into this week's games. Obviously, last night we had the Bills-Dolphins. whatever. Why did I think the Dolphins would have a chance? It's like trust your gut. The Bills have dominated the Finns, especially as Josh Allen, the quarterback. He just kills them. But you still think they're going to do it. Tua just turning the ball over repeatedly, and this is the hot off the presses. My dad's on the press beat. He says, Tua will miss how many games with a concussion?" And he's got the little scared, weird-looking emoji. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be okay because he didn't look good yesterday before the concussion. Too many turnovers, and Tyreek obviously never plays well against the Bills, which is fine. But I don't know. Big game, obviously big game for your guy, running back.
Yeah, Devon Achane.
No, the other side.
Oh, James Cook.
James Cook. He had a great game for the Bills, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean Devon Achane had a good game too. That's what killed me. Is like in the first half they were average. I think he averaged 5.5 yards a carry, and they just kept wanting to throw the football, and all Tua kept doing was turn it over. I'm like, why are we not just running the ball? They dominated time of possession. I think they had like 15 more minutes time of possession. They had like over 100 yards more offense than the Bills. Literally, the only difference in the game was 3 interceptions. Like, right. I feel like the run scheme was done well. That's the only thing that gives me hope is Mike McDaniel can outcoach people. Because you could see it. They were killing them in the first half running the football. It was
right.
Waddle that way, Hill this way, Achane that way. Everybody was getting the ball. So, yeah, it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating. So, the only spin zone I saw in this game is DeMar Hamlin was the guy that knocked Tua out. So, and actually, it was, in my opinion, it's a little bit on Tua. He kind of just dove he literally just put his head down and ran right into somebody. It's like, if he's talking about doing his judo stuff and like learning how to why not just slide? He already had the first down at that point. I can't remember if that was 4th down or not, but like, yeah, like get down, protect yourself,
Judo chow. Yeah, he needed a not. We'll see. I mean, I want him to be healthy, of course, but
yeah, hopefully he gets back and everything's fine. But it's tough. We paid him all that money, and it's tough to, at least in my opinion, to rationalize paying that man so much money when I don't think he elevates the people around him enough to justify that much money.
Right. So, and in big spots, you need that. I mean, this is a team that has talent, supposedly, and it's just this is the big game. I mean, I know it's early in the season, but you got to play them in Buffalo the next time. Like you want to win the division, you got to win these games, some kind of way. But okay, let's get to the main slate. You just mentioned it, Jets at Titans. This is a noon game central. Right now, the Jets are 4-point favorites on the road, 42-point total. It's hard for me to back the Titans in this spot after watching, crappy Will Levis. But if you take that out, they played decent against a pretty good Bears defense. And I think the Bears defense is better than the Jets. But, I don't know. If you got the stones to do it, you back the Titans. Otherwise, I'm staying away really far.
See, I was going Jets here. I just feel like they got embarrassed on Monday night. I feel like they have the talent to actually turn around and have a better game, and they have a much better quarterback. At least if Aaron Rodgers, if anything, he won't lose them the game like Will Levis.
Right.
So I have more faith in that. And then just the fact that the Jets defense like I said, they got embarrassed. They have talent. They're gonna play well. They're gonna come up with probably a couple of schemes for Will Levis, especially on 3rd down. They get in 3rd and long a lot. It's going to be game over for them. So the only hope that Tennessee has in this game, I think, is that they ran the ball decently against Chicago. They're going to have to run the ball well again this week. Tony Pollard's going to have to, do well. Right. Tajay Spears and company. So, but I'll ride with the Jets, I think.
Okay. This is the Titanic pick this week. Ravens hosting the Raiders. Ravens are 8-point favorites at home, 41.5-point total. Obviously, they came off a loss against the Chiefs, so they got to bounce back. Raiders didn't look great against the Chargers. They also couldn't stop the run. So you would think that the Ravens are just going to run the ball down their throats. But it's expected to be about 40% again of the pool that will take the Ravens here. So I'm going to stay away from that in the Survivor. I do think the Ravens are going to win the game. What do you think about covering that number, 8 points? I think they probably will, but it's such a low total. There's value to the dog.
Yeah, that is very true. And Devontae Adams could have a big game. You never know. Mm-hmm. I mean, Rashid Rice had a good game against the Ravens, and Pacheco had a good game as well. So they have a couple spots there. Brock Bowers also could give them troubles. It's hard to say. Yeah, I would stay away from this game especially after we just saw the Bengals and the Patriots game. And how about a start for the Raiders? They get Harbaugh followed by Harbaugh. Oh my God!
Harbaugh.
So what a quirky schedule that must be. So yeah, you get physical and then you get more physical. So have fun with that.
I did hear a weird stat this week that Minshew, obviously quarterback for the Raiders, he's like 1-14 against as a dog against the spread or something like that. But
Oh, yikes.
who knows? But speaking of Harbaugh's, Chargers are going to the Panthers, and they're 6-point favorites on the road, 39.5-point total. It kind of is a sneaky survivor spot. You don't like to take road teams too often, but let's face it, Harbaugh's new style. I know it was the Raiders, but the Raiders defense is supposed to be decent. That offensive line for the Chargers, he's built something already. And obviously your guy, J.K. Dobbins, dominated, but they still got Gus the Bus, and they're gonna run the ball down their throat. And you still have Herbert back there to sling it. He didn't do much. He didn't need to do much last week. So, is there any chance for the Panthers to win this game? I don't know about they could cover maybe, but winning this game sounds tough.
Now their defense is so bad. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback whatsoever. So even if they struggle to run the ball, which I don't see that happening whatsoever, Justin Herbert can just drop back and kill this team, I think, too. So that, again, this feels like a rat. Like this feels like almost like a carbon copy of like basically how we felt about the Saints and Panthers. You're like, oh, well, it can't be that bad, right? So, but it can. It could definitely be that bad. So we're definitely
Right.
I would take the Chargers here. I think somebody that I knew was taking them in a survivor pool. But Bryce Young also only has 11 career touchdown throws in 17 games. So
Oh,
he has a 2% touchdown rate when it comes to throwing the football in his career for 17 games now. So we have a pretty nice sample size, I would say, of what we're looking at here. So it's tough to pick that whatsoever. So
tough to back it.
I think this is a good team to fade this year again, honestly. Like
I
you can
know.
just bet against them all season, and especially in fantasy and daily fantasy, like them, and then obviously we'll get to the commies and stuff. But yeah, I think they're a good team that you can kind of tail all year
Yeah,
when
I
it comes
agree.
to scoring points.
I agree. Okay, so Saints at Cowboys. This is the Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites at home, 45.5-point total. So this is the thing. Oh, okay? They're the landing spot. Got it. So the Saints look great. They actually scored a lot of points against Carolina. We know they played Carolina. Cowboys look great. So you got Zimmer coaching up the defense, which I think is actually an improvement over Dan Quinn. Um, the thing is it too good to be true? 6.5 seems like a big number, even though I know the Cowboys are probably a better squad. So where do you lie on this one? You said great floor game for New Orleans.
Yeah, I think we're gonna learn more about New Orleans this game than we're gonna learn about Dallas.
Yeah.
So we just saw them beat up on the Panthers, which is great. That's exactly what you want to see. You want to see an
Yeah.
offense that you think can actually produce the way that you think they will in their mind. So in my opinion, we're going to learn more about the Saints this season. Is even if they lose, like if they lose 27-21 and it's a good game, like then
Yeah.
at least we know moving forward that the Saints are going to be a viable, like if that's their floor, then they're going to be a viable team because obviously Dallas's defense is much better than Carolina. So I just think we're going to learn more about the Saints in this position. I don't like the number. I don't like the game because I literally have no idea what Saints team we're going to get. We've seen this team go up and down the last like 2 years, basically. So if anything, I would probably take the under just because I don't think, the Saints defense has obviously been kind of one of their strengths. And now
Right.
Dallas's big strength is the defense. So if it's going to be a competitive game, it's probably going to be like 17-14 or 21-20 or, something along those lines. But if Dallas just gets going downhill, I think it could be like 34-10 or even, 28-10 or just something, that's not going to be very competitive. So I would take the under.
And we didn't on air if we talked about the Dak got paid, so he's happy now, and CeeDee Lamb too. So Chase Young is on the Saints.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I found him in my prep, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's that guy we were talking." We could
Found
not
him.
think of
We
him.
found him.
Yeah.
All right, so this is kind of an interesting game. The Bucks are going to the Lions. Lions are 7-point favorite, 51-point total. I like the eyebrows. So, by the way, when Dalton's out in Vegas checking out ladies, he's like, "Oh, she's got great eyebrows." I'm like, "What?"
Guys have good eyebrows too. Yeah, I was gonna say it's just an eyebrow enthusiast.
He's an eyebrow guy. Look, I don't know, man. I don't know why. I understand the Lions are good. We talked about them. They won last week. I was against them. Like it was with the Lions in a contest, but like for the season, I'm a little bit down on the Lions. They obviously have a clear path with. We'll talk about Green Bay in a minute, but 7 points. I don't know, man. Are they going to dominate this Tampa team? I know Tampa's not. Maybe their secondary's bad or something. I'm not really sure. I just think it's too many points. I would take the Bucks here plus the 7. I understand why the total's high because both defenses, they were a little leaky last week, but too many points for me.
Yeah, and I actually like the Lions here for a couple of different reasons. So after week 1, they were middle of the pack as far as defensive pass efficiency, and they played against the Rams, which is probably one of the better pass offenses in the NFL. So they've been anywhere between 30th and 32nd like the last 3 years. So for them to be middle of the pack, that's great. If they can stay there, this team is going to win a lot of football games just because their offense is so good. So,
Sure.
and I think the other thing going against Tampa here is Tampa doesn't run the football well. They haven't ran the football well in like 3 or 4 years. Even when Tom Brady was there, they really never ran the football well. So I think the game script is going to go against them here, and it's going to play into the hands of the Detroit Lions. So do you know who led the NFL in pass rush win rate in the first week?
Pass rush win rate. Let me guess here. The Lions?
No, Aiden Hutchinson specifically
okay.
led. So I think the Lions could bully them, maybe get up 10 or 14, and then Hutchinson goes to town on Baker. I can already see it happening, especially in the dome. They got a little bit of momentum. They're going to lean more on the run game, more than likely. So I could see why people would like the Bucks, especially coming off of playing the Commies, which again I think that's another team you can tail this season for fantasy or just if you want to bet overs. I think that's a team that you can bet over with. But yeah, I don't know why. I see the Lions. I just don't see them as the same old Lions. They, basically leading up to this year, the Lions would have lost that game against the Rams, but they got outplayed, outcoached, everything, but they still won the game. So I think that says a lot.
Yeah, a lot of the people I listen to, the Sharps, that love the Lions this week. So you're probably on the right side there. I just, I don't know. We'll see. You're probably right. They'll blow them out and they'll be done. But we'll see. I mean, I do have them. Like when I do my pick 'em for the whole year, I do have the Lions winning this game. But I had them lose in the last game and they pulled it out. So, all right. Speaking of those Packers, the Colts are going to the Packers. The Colts are 2.5-point road favorites, 41-point total. This is a potential survivor pick for some people if you want to go on the Colts. Obviously, Jordan Love got hurt and late in that game. It's a tough one. They're down. It gets kind of twisted around in a pile. It's an MCL sprain. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. So it's the Malik Willis era right now. I thought they might sign Ryan Tannehill, but they did not. So they're going with the young guy who's only been in town for 2 weeks. The opening line in this game was Green Bay -5. It moved all the way to 3.5 for the Colts, and I definitely like that number for the Pack. Now it's back in line, so 2.5 is a good number for the Colts. Now it's one of those things, But obviously, I'm not going to die on the hill with Malik Willis per se, but I think Matt LaFleur's a good coach. I think he's going to have a game plan. They know they got to run the ball against the Colts, which you can do even if they know you're going to run. So maybe I still think there's value to the Pack here, but the numbers sucked so much better. When it was 3.5, it was kind of a gimme for me for the Pack, and now it's not.
No, I mean, if Saquon Barkley had 3 touchdowns, I think Jonathan Taylor could have his way with this defense too. Yeah. So I like the Colts here. Yeah. I don't have any faith in Malik Willis at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get it. Let's talk about some more games. Browns at the Jags. Jags are 3-point favorites at home. Low total 41.5. We talked about, I don't know if we don't know what the Browns defense will do on the road. They got kind of lit up last week. So at home, the Jags, the Browns didn't play well on the road. So I would lean Jags here, even though it's 3, it's, flat number. Total 41.5. I'm going to go over that total. I don't think the Jags they played pretty good against Miami, but the Browns, I don't know. Maybe they struggle to score. They didn't look great last week, but I think this game will open up a little bit more. I don't think the Browns defense will play great on the road.
No, I can't believe we're finally aligned on something. No, I like the Jags in the over too. So the Dolphins are also a Javon Holland punch on Travis Etienne away from being 0-2, by the way.
I know.
So, and then the sky would be falling in Miami. So, but anyway, no, I like the Jags over. I think they're going to win by 7 or 10. Again, how long can you play with a disengaged quarterback? You know what I mean? Like until you start losing the locker room or until guys just start getting irritated. So.
Yeah, there you go. Well, look at this. We aligned. It only took 8 games. 49ers at the Vikings. This number has come down again. It was a great number at 6.5. But right now the 49ers are 5-point favorites on the road, 45.5-point total. The Vikings, man, it's a sneaky pick. A lot of the sharps love this. That's why the numbers come down. Sam Darnold. Am I flipping on Sam Darnold? I put it on TikTok that damn Sam Darnold still stinks. I said it in there. Maybe I said sucks. Sorry, Sam. But 5 is tough number, but I still think there's value with the Vikings here. We'll see. I mean, I think Flores did a really good job last year shutting down the 49ers, but Purdy looked good in week 1, but I guess it's a different defense. So what are your thoughts here?
Sam Darnold revenge game for sure.
That's right. He was on the bench last year.
He was literally just there last year. But the more it comes down, the more I want to lean 49ers, honestly. But Kevin O'Connell is a good offensive coach. So, I mean, they have weapons. It's not like they don't have dudes. But I fear that they're not going to be able to protect Darnold well enough like they could last week against the Giants. So, and the Giants are supposed to have a good pass rush. So, I think they might struggle in that department. And I think if you speed Darnold up, just like any other quarterback, unfortunately, he becomes more obsolete. So, I would probably lean Niners here just for the safe pick. But I don't mind Minnesota. Backdoor cover, I think, is very much on the table here. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then can the Patriots do it again? Seattle at the Patriots. Patriots are 3.5-point dogs at home, 38-point total. Total seems right. 38. This is going to be an under team a lot of the year because of the way they run. Seattle was good, not great. They didn't get the ball to DK at all in week 1 or JSN. It was kind of a weird game, actually. You had and Kenneth Walker went down in this one, right? So Charbonnet is starting for the Seahawks. It's not a great spot. I don't like the 3.5 on the road. That's for damn sure. So I'm not back in Seattle. I not necessarily going to go with the Patriots and pick them, but it's certainly value to the Patriots here. I think this line is a little bit more preseason line. And Seattle obviously knows what to expect, but that defense it looked improved for Seattle as well.
No, definitely. Well, they still have a defensive head coach too. So
yes.
You would at least like to think the defense is always going to be pretty salty. So no, I'm with you. I hate that. I hate the 3.5. And then Geno Smith again and a favorite on the road. I don't know. They're going all the way east as well for a 1:00 game. That's also never fun. So I don't know. I don't feel good about this at all. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go Patriots. But then am I asking myself, what happens if the Patriots go 2-0 to start the season?
I know.
Everybody in Vegas, everybody's like, why the hell do we not take this team as the over? So
right.
I don't know. I have such a moral compass with this. But yeah, we'll go Patriots. Hell with it. Ramondre Stevenson could have another big game. So
he could. I do think that McDonald, the coach, he's going to find a way to shut down the run game. It's going to be on Jacoby. Yeah. But again, it'll be an ugly game. I think it'll be like a 17-14. It'll be one of those type of games. So Giants at Commanders. This is woo. Minus 1.5 for the Commanders at home, 44-point total. This is the battle of two terrible teams. Kingsbury, I heard a lot of this week that he just refuses to throw down the field. He's like a horizontal passing attack guy. Daniels got an arm. Let him unleash that stuff. And obviously he ran really well. Jaden Daniels probably looked the best of those rookies in the it was more running than throwing. And the Giants looked abysmal. But this is one of those things. The Giants, are they that bad? Are they really going to be that bad? And the Commies, as you said, are not good. So I think the values of the Giants, it's a stinky dog here. Smelly dog you got to leave on the back porch. But I think you got to lean the Giants. Ugh, horrible.
Yeah, no, this is a loser leaves town game for me, honestly.
Yeah,
this is already second game of the season. Yeah, loser leaves town. So, I think I would take the Commanders just because of the talent on offense. Just because I think it leans a little more that way, and plus the Giants' rushing defense doesn't look that great after week 1 either. So we'll definitely see what happens. I don't feel good about that game either. I feel like it's such a crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get really at the end of the day.
Yeah, stay away. It's over there. Yeah. Leave it over there.
Yeah. I mean, even though it's a pick 'em, yeah, I'd stay away.
Well, there's only 3 4:00 games or 3 o'clock games in Central.
Yeah, we got 10 1 o'clock games this week. Why does the NFL do this to us?
I don't know. I don't know why they do this. Rams, because they're trying to feature Rams at Cardinals, baby. Cardinals are a 1-point favorite at home, 49.5-point total. So they really like the Cardinals after that game against the Bills. I think they played great and they kind of surprised people. But the Rams, now granted, there's a little bit of injuries on the Rams side, so I get that. But I don't know. It's weird. I think it's not a big favorite, short favorite, but I think I take the Rams with the points.
No, I'm with you. It's the first time the Cardinals have been favored in 27 games.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I would take every pass prop on Stafford. I'd take the over on attempts. I'd hammer that. Whatever. If you can get he threw for 52 times against the Lions. I think he's going to throw at least that many times against the Cardinals. So Henderson. Yeah, no, it's not Henderson. What's the running back?
Williams?
Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams had 18 carries still, even with those 50-something attempts from Stafford.
They ran a place. They ran a ton of plays.
Yeah. So I would I like the Rams. I think the Rams are a good team even with the injuries. I just think the Cardinals don't play good enough defense they have the worst pass rush rate in the NFL obviously after the first week. So they don't put any pressure on the quarterback. So if you don't sit back there and pressure Stafford, he'll pick you apart. He's good enough for that. So
pick you apart. He will do it. Okay, so this is marquee game. Bengals at Chiefs. Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites at home, 48-point total. Here's the tough thing. The Bengals always win this stupid game when it's in like November or December, but they can't win in week 2. So I get why the line is 5.5, but it's got to be a bounce back. I mean, the Bengals can't play that bad again, can they? But it's inside of a touchdown. I mean, it's like 5.5 is a great number for the Chiefs. So I hate to say it, I lean Chiefs or pass on this one.
No, I'm going Chiefs just for the sheer fact that Isaiah Pacheco is about to have his way with this Bengals defense. So the DJ Reader's now gone from the Bengals. The last time DJ Reader wasn't playing when these two teams played, Isaiah Pacheco had like 170 yards and I think 2 touchdowns. So I think they're going to have their way with the Bengals interior defensive line. I think it's just Pacheco's going to run angry and it's going to be over quick. I mean, the Chiefs offense, you can argue, looks better this year than it did last year, and it features Travis Kelce less. So that's pretty scary in my opinion.
Yep, agreed.
They're inevitable.
They're inevitable. Last one, Steelers at Broncos. It's 2.5-point favorites for the Steelers on the road, 36.5-point total. Oh, what a difference a week makes. All of a sudden they're favored on the road. I like the Steelers in general, but I don't like them favored on the road, even though Denver's not that good. So values the Denver here. My dad, beat reporter out in Colorado, tells me that there's, they're on the hot seat. Peyton's on the hot seat. I don't believe that for a second. So I think Broncos probably win this game, unfortunately, because I'm a Steelers guy in general, kind of in my heart. First of all, I'm going to root for Justin Fields, man. You know how I feel about that. I want them to do well, but I think the Broncos will win this game.
No, I'm with you. I think even though he only averages 3.3 yards an attempt, the quick passing is going to obviously negate the pass rush, hopefully, of the Steelers. So hopefully TJ Watt won't be in his back pocket. So because he's getting the ball out of his hand quick. But I see this as a low scoring game. I would almost take the under, but it's literally can we get 2 touchdowns? If we get 2 touchdowns, you feel like the over is going to hit at that point. So
inside teaser, dude, tease the Broncos up to 8.5 plus 8.5 and tease the total up to 42.5 and sleep easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. There it is.
So then the Bears get to play on Sunday night at the Texans. The Texans are 6.5-point favorites in this one, 46-point total. This is another potential survivor pick for the Texans in this case. I don't know. I think the number's perfect, actually. I think the Texans are in good shape here. They should be the one who's favored by a good number. Do the Bears bounce back? Maybe. Is Eberflus the guy? Not sure. So much is put on, obviously, this offense. They're going to have to ball out because I think unless Houston has just a bad game, they're better on both sides of the ball. I mean, I think not both sides. The Bears' defense is pretty good, but their offense is legit. They're going to be able to move the ball, and I think this total is maybe a little high, actually, for 46. I don't think the Bears are going to score that many points. So I think the Texans, I'd lay the wood here. Sorry, Bears fans. It's 2 weeks in a row. 6.5. I would lay that.
Yeah, I love the under here. I love the under because even if you're going to argue for the Bears, there's no way they're going to beat them like 31-30. There's no way, right?
Right.
Because especially after that week, I mean, they'd have to have like 3 punt return touchdowns to score 30 points at this point. So
Right.
no, I like the under here. To your point, I think the number's pretty close, especially Sunday night. Everybody gets a little bit of extra time to prepare. So no, I like the under here. But other than that, I would stay away from the rest of it.
Right. On Monday Night Football, you got the Falcons at the Eagles. Again, 6.5-point favorites for the Eagles at home. 47-point total. This is likely our survivor pick this week for the Eagles. Obviously, it can surprise people. I mean, perhaps all of a sudden Cousins moves a little better, or maybe they put in Penix, and I just think that the Eagles are going to destroy them in this one. Maybe not. Yeah, I just think that when Cousins used to play for Minnesota, they always destroyed Minnesota. But this team, I don't know if they're tough enough, meaning Atlanta, against the Eagles. And the Eagles, they obviously won last week, and it was a tougher game, but it was a much better offense than the Falcons have. So I am all over the Eagles here.
No, I'm with you. And a couple of different reasons on top of that, too, is like the Packers, when they played, obviously, the Eagles last week, they had all their success throwing up the sideline or more like deep middle over the field, which is the 2 spots that Kirk Cousins didn't throw to at all this past week when they played Pittsburgh. Everything was underneath in the middle of the field, and that's where the Packers couldn't complete passes. So it plays right into the hands of the Eagles defense, in my opinion.
Right.
And also, they have extra rest, obviously. But Jalen Hurts was also top 5 last week in the NFL against the blitz. He was top 5 in yards, touchdown completion percentage, EPA, all that kind of stuff that you're looking for. So the Falcons blitzed, I think, they were kind of middle of the pack. So if it's going to be interesting to see if they play more coverage or if they do decide to blitz them or not, because they have Saquon Barkley now, and that could be a big game changer for them. So it's going to be interesting, but I think you have to hammer the Eagles here. Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't see how the Falcons can win this game.
And we didn't talk about the Vegas weekend, but when we went to Beer Park and watched the Packers-Eagles game, boy, I didn't know it was like an Eagles bar, because there was like 8,000 Eagles fans cheering Fly Eagles Fly and EAGLES every time they score. So, all right, my picks this week, although of course to be continued, but I do like Minnesota plus the 5. I'm putting it at Green Bay plus 2.5. I may back off on that because it was 3.5 originally. Tampa plus the 7. And I like the favorites: Houston minus 6.5 and Philly minus 6.5. I might actually be switching some of these, especially with maybe the Chargers might dip into here. So who do you like?
Now this week I like the Indy at minus 2.5. I like the Jags at minus 3.5. I like the Rams at +1, Denver plus 2.5, and then the Jets minus 4.
Yeah, those I like a lot of those too. So we'll review with action tomorrow in the Survivor. As I mentioned, for the contest, 40% of the people are out. This is so funny. So they had 14,200 entries. So it's $4.2 million on the line, Coop. So when we win, I'll pay for the trip this time. But 8,700 people out, 8,702 week 1. That is rough. So that's how it works. And then the ATS, we were 3-2 with official picks, 1,127. That's pretty decent. I mean, there weren't that many people at 5-0 this week because obviously there was a lot of stuff that happened. So right in the mix. You're in Ohio for a wedding. I'm going to go to the North Shore. I got to find a place to watch football. I've kind of been peeping on bars. There's one down the street, looks kind of crappy, but it says they hope they have the NFL ticket and I can get there at 7 a.m. Great. That's what I'll be on Sunday. What about you? The wedding is today?
Yeah, wedding's in a couple hours, and then just hopefully be back in Chicago for football on Sunday.
Well, great. Well, hopefully we'll get back to our normal schedule Thursday evenings if we can next week. And then I actually will be there in 2 weeks, so we can do it live if you're around. I'll be in Chicago the weekend of it's like Thursday the 26th through the 29th, so we can get back together. The Edgewater studio. Hopefully it's not like the cat has not taken over the whole place, but
yeah, bring your inhaler.
That's right. Well, yeah. All right, well, follow us at Side Action Pod on X and Side Action Podcast on Instagram. Follow me at Wegspool on X and on Instagram.
You can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper, on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. Again, we are the Side Action Podcast. Check us out on Twitter, on X and Instagram at Side Action Pod. Until next week, right?
That's right. Until next week. And I'll try to get another TikTok up. I will try. I will figure out how to do the video.
Let's get some Hawaii content,
Yeah, sure.
You're on island time now.
All right, everybody.
Love you guys.